Hello, this is a video that will show you how to replace a motor on an LUH unit. In order to do this replacement, you will need the following tools. It's a driller, an X die of 1/4 and 3/8, a flash cutter, a crimp tool, a stripper wire, a flat plate screwdriver, a heat gun, a scissors, and also it will be the material provided by Chromalog. Here we will be checking the Loctite that is going to be used, also the hardware for the motor itself, terminals, and a sleeving. First of all, we need to unscrew the lid of our LUH unit. Then we need to unscrew the screws from the frontal panel. Then we need to remove, once we screw the screws, the frontal panel. Also, we need to unscrew the screws from the back panel. This will allow us to be able to remove the case. Now we need to remove the motor cables from the contactor. It will be the black wire located on T1 and white wire located on T3. Now we are going to proceed to remove the black bushing that is located on the back of the unit. This needs to be done by force. Then we need to remove the bushing from the motor's cables. On this step, we need to remove the screws that are located on the fan guard of the motor. Here you will be able to see that screws have a washer and a spacer. This last one you need to be very careful when removing it because it has the ground wire on it. Now we have removed the fan guard and the motor. The next step it is to remove the set screw that is on the top of the fan blade. Now you can remove the fan blade. You will need to also remove the motor's bracket and gasket. Next step is to unscrew the screws that are located on the sides of the motor that holds the bracket, that holds the motor. This is for both sides. Now you can pull out the motor from the fan guard. The next step is to release the ground wire from the wires of the motor. You need to cut the cable tie. The next step is install the replacement motor on the fan guard. You have to do it in the same location that it was the original motor. Make sure to install the ground wire on the same position where it was located. On this step, we are screwing again the screws on the bracket that holds the motor. It is for both ways also, both sides. Now we're going to proceed to install the bracket that is included with the motor's hardware, as well as the gasket. At this point you need to make sure that fits completely, that it's on the correct location. Gasket has some orifices and you need to make sure that they fit correctly with the bracket. Now we will proceed to install the fan blade again and add a drop of Loctite on the top of the shaft motor. Then we will adjust the set screw on the fan blade. Now we're going to proceed to assembly our motor with the fan guard in the same position that it was mounted originally. Make sure that spacer fits correctly. Also, wires needs to be oriented near the orifice where we originally pulled this out, that it was from here. Remember to install the ground wire as it was installed originally. First, you need to enter the terminal of the ground wire, then washer, then spacer, and make sure to screw it correctly. Here we need to make sure that fan guard be completely centered. We recommend at this point that first you need to install one and make sure that it doesn't hit the internal part of the heater. You need to continually rotate the fan blade just to make sure that it won't hit the internal part. Now we are going to put through the sleeving the motor's cables, that it's the cable white and black. Make sure that they measure 10th inch. Once that you have installed them completely, make sure that the sleeving it's completely near of the motor base. Now we're going to proceed to start heating the sleeving on every side. Now we are going to proceed to introduce the motor's cables through the orifice where we originally removed the bushing, the black bushing, and install it again. We are going to tie it up with the cable ties, the ground wire, and the motor's cables. Now we are going to cut the supplier's terminals that were included on the motor initially. strip both wires 1/4, and install the Chromolux terminals. They are of a red color, and we're going to crimp this terminal with the wires. Make sure that they are well crimped. Now we are going to proceed to install the cables back on contactor. You need to install the black cable to T1 and white cable to T3. Now we're going to proceed to install back again the case on the back panel. Make sure that case is inside of the back panel. Now we're going to proceed to screw again the case with the back panel. We recommend to start with the ones on the top and then go to the sides. Now we're going to proceed to install the frontal panel. Also make sure that case is inside of the frontal panel. As mentioned, you need to screw first the ones on the top and make sure that the Chromolux label be located on the orientation where it's the connection box. Now, finally, we are going to proceed to close the lid by screwing the screw of the lid.